We'll give folks a few more minutes to join. Just wait a couple of minutes for folks to filter in. Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you all very much for joining this session. AI, you don't have to learn DARIAN for everyday workflows. Really appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us as we talk about DARIAN and AI and some of the challenges that everyone is facing around this. Bear with me a moment. I seem to be... Well, that was nice. Want to let everybody know this session is being recorded. If you don't want to participate in the live recording, you can drop from the session right now. The recording will be available to you afterwards. In addition, the recording will be available so that you can share this out with others inside your organization. If this is of interest to other people, other folks that you want to do that. So first off, a little bit about me. My name is Eric Stevens. I am the Vice President of Strategic Engagement with 4Point. Been with 4Point, it's actually coming on 7 years. I'm one of the folks that's responsible for a lot of the way that you're dealing with forms today. Helped build some of the original form filling capabilities, form output capabilities. Been doing this a long, long time. A little bit of personal background. I love to cook, and I have 3 dogs. Buddy, Bella, and Piper. While we go through this, please ask your questions in the chat. There's a Q&A area. You should see it in the top of your Teams screen. If you click on that, you can ask a question in the chat, and there will be time at the end of this where I'll be able to look at those and answer any questions. So that's the best way if you've got anything as I'm going through these different slides associated with it. So let's launch in. When we talk to organizations about AI, and what we're seeing with all organizations is a desire to figure out a way of making AI work in their environment. They see a lot of advantages and benefits associated with it, but many organizations are struggling to see the value associated with it. They're doing a lot of things, but they're not necessarily seeing the return on investment. Now, we're going to focus and talk around forms and forms related things, data capture, data output, the processing of information. That's where we're experts at. And so in talking about AI in your organization, let's focus on what we think you can do with some different areas that are forms related. And the first one we're going to talk about is form enhancement. And this is the ability to go in and automate the validation and the population of forms using what's called conversational AI. And this is what we're going to talk about specifically with DARIAN, is the ability to change the way that people enter information into forms. But it goes beyond just that, because we can use AI linked to your forms to deal with data integration and data transformation, because we can look at the form information, identify what's being asked, and create maps and structures so that now you can use that more effectively in your organization. And that leads to workflow orchestration, where AI can dynamically route the documents, trigger next steps, notify people as needed. So now we're extending the capabilities of it from what was a simple paper form to a much more complex scenario through the use of AI. And this enhances organizational integrity around compliance and audit checks, because it improves the quality of the data that you're receiving, either from your employees, from your partners, brokers, whoever, or from your actual customers. And through the use of AI and applying it into a form-oriented business process, we can create a really enhanced, accessible environment. Because we're talking about voice first, we can now conduct the completion of a form in multiple languages. We can have a chat scenario that helps you fill out a form that is in your native language. And we can do this on multiple different channels, including your normal computer environments, but mobile phones, tablets, or other voice-based scenarios such as smartwatches. When we look at the end-to-end of this, this is a radical shift in the way that people can look at how they're capturing and processing data. Today, what happens for a lot of organizations, and many of the organizations we're attending today, is you have somebody who's downloading a PDF to fill it out in Reader, and then they're printing it, signing it, and then they're scanning it and sending it back to you. Or maybe you've got Acrobat-based forms. Okay, they're filling them out as Acrobat-based forms. And when they do that, though, there's not a lot of intelligence. There's not a lot of validation. So we create challenges inside the organization of how do we process that data? How do we deal with that data? Even where you've applied automated mechanisms and you've created screens that have some intelligence associated with them, pushing those out to your customers may be very complicated, may be very challenging from a security perspective. So how can we automate those mechanisms? AI gives us multiple dimensions that allow us to change the way that we think about capturing data and processing data. But it's even more than that, because the impacts of AI change the way that we are thinking about what we want to do. We're reducing the manual effort. And what do I mean by that? Is if the data is better, if the data accuracy is better, because instead of relying on the user to interpret the form correctly, we use AI to instruct them on how to fill out that form. We guide them through that process. Then now we get better accuracy. That means there's less effort in processing that form internally. So that changes how we want to use those. And that starts to then lead back into the return on investment that we're looking for. We get faster decision support, again, because we got higher quality data, but also because we've shortened the time frame to fill out that data. We talk to a lot of organizations that deal with these kinds of challenges. And one of the challenges that they face is inside their call center, a large percentage of the calls are because people don't know what to do with the form. A substantial amount of effort at the call center is simply helping people understand what a field means. Now, that's bad form design, and that goes back to, as I said, my 30 years doing this. Okay, and we can help with that. We can help you fix the forms. But if we change the way we're doing it, now we can act upon that more effectively. We can offer better customer service to it. And we change the accessibility message. We know that accessibility is a critical factor for everyone's web content. Forms are included in that. And if you don't have an accessibility plan and an accessibility review for all of your forms, including the downloaded PDFs and the acrofill forms that you've got right now, even if you've just got PDFs that people have to download as blank documents, those all still need to be accessible. So what we can do is use AI to layer on top of the forms to add a new layer of accessibility, to change the accessibility discussion entirely. And accessibility extends beyond just persons with disabilities, someone with a visual impairment, or challenges with the keyboard associated with typing and those kinds of things. But it also assists with individuals who may not understand the form that they're filling out. They know they have to fill it out, but they don't understand all of the fields. AI can help with those kinds of things. And it really comes back to changing that dynamic from that fill online, download, print, scan, send in methodology that we're using for a large number of forms, and creates a better workflow continuity, because now we've got it on a server. We can still and will produce that PDF that is necessary for your regulations. You need that PDF. We know that. All right. But we don't have to print it. We can now route it to somebody and have a digital signature applied to it. We can turn what was a paper-based process where you had to scan the document and extract the data from it into a fully electronic integrated solution with very, very low amounts of effort. Because what we're dealing with is context-aware automation, where we're putting it in place to address the specific challenge and then leveraging that automation into your organization and changing the way that you're thinking about it. So this is both using AI in a really effective manner, but also changing the paradigm in the way that you're processing the data so that you get the advantages of it and your customers get a much better user experience. The real challenge with a lot of the return on investment is that it's not focused in the areas that it really needs to be focused on. And I'm going to talk in the next bit about why adoption is a challenge for a lot of organizations. But what we want to do is use AI so that our teams, our people can do things that people should be doing, focusing on customer needs, focusing on strategic priorities, not focused on manual effort and not focused on just dealing with the challenges that someone might have in knowing how to fill out a form. So what we want to do is not have to deal with a lot of those kinds of different issues. We want to speed up approvals. We want to speed up routing, both for the customer experience, okay, but also to save you time and money. We want to reduce errors and reduce the delays so that there's no back and forth with the customer. There's no back and forth with the broker or financial advisor. There's no back and forth with the employee going, why did you put this in here? This is the wrong field. This is the wrong, you have it. It's incomplete. Okay. We want to improve that because that's better customer experience, but that also saves you time and money. And fragmented workflows, the challenge of moving that data around, we want to increase the data accuracy and ensure that you're getting the data where it needs to be as quickly as possible with the highest degree of accuracy. So having said all that, why does AI adoption feel challenging? And it really comes down to three different related things. And the focus, and you may have seen this in your organization, we've certainly seen it in our organization. I use Copilot for work, Gemini for some other things, ChatGPT for some other things. So I'm familiar with all of the different AI pieces, but prompt engineering, figuring out what you're asking it and what you're trying to get out of it so that it gives you something valuable, can seem like a job unto itself. And in fact, in some places, it is a job. But to incorporate it in our workflow is disrupting that process. I personally have a challenge adding in, we use Microsoft Copilot internally, using Copilot in a daily manner as part of my workflow. I can't find things to do with it. I know how to write an email. I'm good at it. I don't need assistance with that, right? And so then that comes back to a training burden of training people on how to incorporate this in, what they can do with it, and then kind of expecting them to figure it all out. I create the analogy that AI, like a Copilot or a ChatGPT, is like a really, really smart and really, really focused college student who's been given to you for a while, and you get to tell them whatever you want to do. And that's great. And they can go look up stuff, and they're really smart. And so you can give them stuff and they'll go away and do it. And it's excellent. Okay, that's great. But they don't have your organizational experience. They don't have a lot of life experience. They don't have a lot of business experience. So you still got to check what they've said. And you have to figure out how to communicate to them. How do I tell them what I need to do when I know instinctively what I need to process? I know what I need to do. It's just easier for me to do it. And we get a lot of that kind of a scenario. So we're seeing this in organizations where they're running into these barriers associated with it. They're challenged to incorporate it as part of it. Where does it fit in? And because it is a usage-based, I need to use it scenario, that creates a lot of barriers internally. But there are barriers from a customer perspective. The moment an organization tries to use AI to enhance a customer experience, they run into a whole new series of challenges related to the internal ones, but they're even more complex because now you've got a familiarity gap. That's not what the customers are used for. How do we make it so that it is seamless for a customer, so that it is what the customer wants to do? Now, I'll tell you, based on surveys and analysis that we've done, is by and large, customers don't like the form data capture user interfaces that they have to deal with for most organizations right now. You know this. As you've looked at your stuff, you go, well, I don't want to fill that form out. Why do we make them do that? All right. That's especially true in a government scenario. Okay, I have to fill out the form, but I don't want to. Okay, this is not what I wake up in the morning and go, I want to do this. So there is, how do we bridge that and give them what they want to do, but still maintain what we need for our organizational processes, what we need for compliance, audit, and regulatory scenarios. And you may not be able to train them. How do you educate them? How do you get that information to them? How do you let them know what they can and can't do? Ultimately, that creates an unsatisfactory user experience. It feels like it's just bolted on. It doesn't feel like it's a natural part of the way that you're trying to communicate with your customers. And the final piece is trust and transparency issues. How do you assure them that what is being produced and what is being communicated and what is being channeled back into the organization hasn't been adjusted, modified? How do you communicate those different pieces out of it? So those are the challenges that organizations face in terms of AI adoption and AI usage. And so we've seen selected areas where that works And what we've tried to do is implement in DARIAN a way to deal with those challenges, with those difficulties, to create a better user experience that reduces your cost and your efforts by using what you have in place today. So the focus for us is, what if we could reduce the complexity associated with filling out the forms? What if we could simplify that and bring them into a modern age to digitally transform the way that the experience occurs, but without adding a lot of extra work on your part and without adding a lot of extra complexity for the user? And so what we've focused on is, we want it so that we can set something up that works quickly in your environment with what you have today. That it is not I have to rebuild everything. I have to take all of my forms and start from scratch and put them into a new architecture. And no, none of that. We want to put it in place so that it uses what you use today, so that we can quickly get users using this kind of capability. All right. We want it to be adaptable across all workflows, that it is independent of a business. It is not specifically for finance. It works great in finance. It's not specifically for healthcare. It works great in healthcare. Not specifically for government. Works great in government, without forcing any of those organizations to redesign it. We wanted to make it secure by design, built for enterprise security and compliance ready. We understand that document has to have the data in it. It has to look like that document, because that's our record. That's what we put in the archive. We get that. So we wanted to ensure that we had that capability for you. And we wanted to make it accessible for all. Voice enabled, mobile friendly, so that you could extend it out without having to rebuild all sorts of different things. So what is DARIAN? It's voice forms, a new approach to filling out forms. And what it allows you to do is to take the forms that are in use in thousands of organizations today, and we can very quickly convert other forms such as Word documents and fillable PDF forms, and turn it into a mechanism that you can now talk to the form. But more importantly, you're not prompting the form. The form is prompting you. The form is asking you the questions. Because if I put a field on a form and it's a first name, last name, what fundamentally am I doing? I'm asking you for your first name and your last name. That's what I'm asking. So what the AI does is looks at that and goes, I need to ask them that, and asks you that. So now the user is getting a request, a question. What's your first name and last name? Now you answer, and then it goes on to the next piece, right? But it's built so that it recognizes all of the functionality that can be in a form. It knows that if you check this box, you have to ask these questions. That if you replied yes to this, then this is a required field. Oh, this field is a required field too. So I got to make sure I get that before I move on. It provides an easy, natural way of completing a form, but the user doesn't have to know anything about AI. They don't have to know anything about the form. They don't have to know anything about prompt engineering. They don't have to be trained. The voice form handles all that. DARIAN handles all that, all right, and communicates that information to them. And if you've got, and we hope you do, help text and other information in the form that provides valuable information. A lot of forms have different pages that are just instructions, setups, critical information that they need to have. That's all available too. So that means that the user can ask about that information. Where am I supposed to send this form when it's completed? DARIAN knows that and can answer that question. And because it's using the forms that are used by thousands of organizations across the globe today, it works with your existing systems. That means we can connect it to wherever you need that data to go. And now we don't have to scan it in. We don't have to OCR the original form. We don't have to image it and archive it. We've got it. Okay. Now we can extend it and send it through your organization in the way that's necessary. And DARIAN is checking the data. Because if you say, this is an email address, well, if it was a blank form, somebody could write anything they want in there, so you need to check it's an email address. DARIAN goes, that's not an email address. It checks it, it validates it. It validates, person gives an address, it goes, this is a valid address. Can you work with this? So it's a critical, different way of thinking about it, where the AI is being used to assist the user. The AI is now helping the user to gather that data, to provide that solid information, and then giving you the power to do what you need with it. From a technical perspective, it deals with the XDP-based PDF forms. These are the forms that you would create that would be downloaded in Reader. If you've got Acrobat-based forms that you're using or flat documents that you're using, all of those can be converted into XDPs. And XDPs are fundamentally the specification for how you want to capture data. This means that we can define a specification of how you want to capture data for really any interface. And the focus here is on those 8.5 by 11 documents that you're asking users to complete today, but we can add this and layer it in on top of anyone. It's built for enterprise scale. It allows you to fit into the environment that you got and guides that person through that structure, reduces the data, improves the data accuracy, reduces that friction associated with it. So now let me give you a short video that shows you DARIAN in action. And I'm going to, 1 second, stop sharing, reshare.
I'll help you with the RESP beneficiary designation form. To start, I'll need some information about the RESP account and the subscribers. 1. What is your family RESP account number? 2. Is this a new request? 3. What is the first and last name of the subscriber?
My RESP number is 1234567.
I've recorded your account number. To continue with the subscriber's information, please provide 1. Is this a new request? 2. What is the subscriber's first and last name? 3. What is the subscriber's social insurance number?
Mon est Eric Stevens.
J'ai bien noté que vous êtes le souscripteur. Pourriez-vous me fournir quelques détails supplémentaires pour continuer? 1. S'agit-il d'une nouvelle demande? 2. Quel est votre numéro d'assurance sociale? 3. Y a-t-il un co-souscripteur pour ce compte?
Please change back to English. I need to add a new beneficiary. My social insurance number is 9987654321. There is no co-subscriber.
I've updated your information and set this as a new request. To proceed with designating your first beneficiary, I'll need a few details. 1. What is the first and last name of the beneficiary? 2. What is the beneficiary's date of birth? 3. What is their social insurance number? 4. What is their relationship to you? 5. What is the beneficiary's home address?
The beneficiary to add is Bella Stevens. Social insurance number is 8887654321. Her date of birth is January the 1st, 1987. Her address is 1234 Meadow Drive, Greeley, Ontario, Canada, K4P1A4. She is my daughter. She is female. I do not want the trustee to request grants.
I've updated Bella's information. I have a few remaining questions for this beneficiary. 1. What is the first and last name of Bella's parent, guardian, or public primary caregiver? 2. Are all of the beneficiaries listed on this form brothers and sisters? 3. What is the date of your signature?
I am Bella's parent. All beneficiaries listed on this form are siblings. The date to use is January the 7th, 2026.
I've updated the parent information, sibling status, and the signature date. Please provide the final few details to complete the form. 1. What is your first and last name as the parent, guardian, or caregiver? 2. Could you please provide your signature to finalize the document?
My name is Eric Stevens, and I will sign the document manually.
I've recorded that you are the parent and will sign the document. The form is now complete. Would you like to generate the PDF now?
Yes.
Thank you. Your RESP beneficiary designation form is now complete and I have generated your document.
So what you saw there was me having a conversation with a form, where the form guided me through the process. When I switched to my very, very poor French, and I apologize for it, when I switched to French, it switched to French along with me, and then switched back to English when I asked to do English. It used an existing form that we had. We didn't create any custom environment. We didn't create something special design. We can take the forms that you're using, that your customers are downloading today to be filled in Reader. We can take those forms and they'll work in DARIAN. It understood the context of what it was asking. So it's not just a matter of it going through a name, first name, second name. It understood the different context. When I gave it a lot of information all at once, even though it hadn't asked for it, it knew how to put that in the right place. This is using AI to really change the entire experience and to make it feel like a more, I'm not going to go pleasurable. It's still a form I got to fill out, but a better user experience. Now, we showed you voice-driven form completion in this context, but there's a text box down at the bottom. I could have been typing all of this in. I could have answered those questions as it was going along, typed that information in. So that gives you multiple different ways of handling that form capture information, and adding AI and giving that as a functionality out to your users, and reducing the amount of effort that you've got, because now we're mobile ready. We can do it in a variety of different environments. We can put it alongside of your existing forms. We don't have to change them. We don't have to change the way that they are delivered. And at the end, you saw that critical document, the same thing that you have today that you need and that you want, but it was sitting on a server. It was waiting with the data to be pushed into your organization. If a signature was required, we could have started a digital signature process. We could have sent it via email so that the person would sign it digitally and it would come back into you. The person could have downloaded it and printed it and signed it and scanned it. You could continue with that process. So you can add, even to those business processes where you don't want to automate all of it yet, you can add this capability on top of it and not change anything in your post-processing environment. So this gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility and advantage. So adding AI to something now shifts it by flipping the message around and not forcing people to have to figure out how to use AI. We're using the form to drive the AI to drive how that information gets captured. If you're interested in more details, you can contact us at sales@4point.com. There are multiple different licensing and pricing options, including a low-end proof of concept that may be really good for organizations that just want to try this out, try a couple of forms, see how it works, see how it would work for them and how it would fit in their environment. And of course, you can visit 4point.com for more information. At this point in time, I'm going to take any questions. As I said at the beginning, if you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A and I'll answer them at that point in time. I'm going to hold my screen over here. How is DARIAN priced? So DARIAN's priced on a per form basis, not on usage or users or servers or anything like that. It's on the number of forms that you want to enable with this capability. Prices vary from a small number of forms through to enterprise licensing that gives you an unlimited number of forms, and there's different tiers associated with it. But it's on a per form basis so that you can work out just the forms that I need to enable today along with it. If you're interested in pricing, reach out to us at sales@4point.com. We'd love to have a conversation with you. How does DARIAN fit into my forms delivery portal? We see it as an addition. It's not a replacement. You might still want to have the downloaded PDF or the Acrobat form up there. Absolutely, you can do that. We encourage that. There are different ways people want to interact with you. This is a new option. So we see it as sitting next to the download the PDF to fill it out is use, voice forms to fill out this form. They end up in the same place with a filled document, a filled PDF form, ready for them to send into the organization or ready for you to process. So there are different ways that you can deal with it after the fact, but inside the portal, it becomes an extra link. If anyone has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those. If not, thank you all very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope this was informative. And if you are looking for more information on DARIAN and how we can help you with your forms and your digital transformation, please give us a call, sales@4point.com. Thank you all very much.